And we are live. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing today? I hope you're all doing wonderful. Welcome to another episode of Elemental Essentials, the series where we help you get in touch and get better connected with your earth-based practice. We're your hosts, Karen and Jess. And
Hello.
yeah, so we're going through a series. We're going to talk about things like elements, gods, goddesses, rituals, myths, legends, and tons more stuff. So today's topic, though, is the basic principles of an earth based practice. Right before we dive into that, though, we're going to get Jess to draw a collective card for all of you guys today, and then we're going to jump right in and start our lesson for you.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm working with my Archangel Power tarot card deck. I really want the angels to come through today for us. Okay. Love it. This is perfect. Page of Raphael, which would be the Page of Cups. Gentle, loving, dreamy, open-hearted. A new emotional situation. I sure hope so. Messages regarding relationships or social invitations. Amen. Great intuitive insight. So this is awesome. This is a perfect time to go inward and really focus on aligning your practice. This says it all. This is filling your cup. This is filling your mind with loving knowledge. Let's do this.
Beautiful. That's amazing. That is such a perfect card for today, too. All right. So, the first principle that we're going to talk to you about today is the principle of mentalism. And this is that all is mind. So, the universe is mental.
Just before I get started, I want to preface with these hermetic principles you can find across religions, belief systems, even science, okay? So a lot of these are supported by scientific fact and research. So that's why I love to dive into these to kind of lay the foundation. So as Karen said, mentalism is the first one, and all is mind, the universe is mental. This sounds and is self-explanatory. Our perception, our hallucination of this reality all comes from the mind. So as we go through, I'm going to give some integration examples for you so you can see how prominent this is in your everyday life. Mentalism is an exact representation of mind over matter, right? The ability to manipulate what's happening in the physical reality by using your mind. So the placebo effect is a beautiful example. The mind over matter when you are hurt and you just don't think about the hurt, right? And it kind of helps. It goes away. When you're in a difficult situation and you think positively, that raises things up, that is changing the course of things just by using a shift in perception, your mind. The power of visualization, our meditations, our guided meditations that we do all the time, that is mentalism. That is going on a journey, a trip, all in here. Another cool example is when you have an idea or you discover something super unique to you and you go to research it, and you find out that someone has had this question before or they've discovered it, and you guys are on a wavelength together. That is part of the collective consciousness. That is what they mean by the universe is mental. We're part of a bigger computer, right? We're all smaller servers to that bigger computer. And focused awareness. So you know what happens when you focus your intention, you can get anything done, right? When you put your mind to it. So these are kind of real life examples of what they mean by mentalism and the universe being mental. So that's that one.
I love that principle.
All right.
So the next principle is correspondence, principle of correspondence. So this is talking about as above, so below, as within, so without. So we're going to create our world within the way we want it and that's going to create it outside as well.
Beautiful. Exactly. I even have I don't know if you can see it, but my tattoo represents that. It can go, I don't know if you can see, it can go upside down, right? It can go upside down this way or the other way. So I needed a visual representation of that on my body. So I guess the real life examples I've come up with for this is so recurring themes in your life, right? So we often live through the highs and the lows, and you'll see as we go through the principles how they kind of overlap and they marry each other. They all work together. So when I say like reoccurring themes, we experience the outer cycle, the inner cycle, the negative, the positive. We experience all of that. What's happening in ourselves definitely projects outward, right? So that is the correspondence and mentalism kind of married together. We also see this in nature. So nature is actually the best example for correspondence, seeing how things naturally progress and work together, how we need one another, right? We work together there. And another example of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without, is that we are part of something larger. So it's kind of going back to that computer, the server thing, where all the parts are necessary, but you can break it down to the inner and the outer. Now, mind you, we're giving very, very, very broad explanations for all of these to encourage you to dive deep into them. Okay, we're just skimming the surface today because we would be here forever. And I love to encourage private personal research so you can kind of integrate it into your own practice. So that's what I have for correspondence there. As above, so below. Just know that this kind of the as above, so below can be applied to everything, and we'll get to that when we talk about polarity.
Yeah, I think I like the example, like as within, so without. When people talk about somebody in your life doing something that you don't really like and they're just really getting on your nerves, and you're like, well, as within, so without, that is a reflection of something going on inside of you that you don't like. So I think that that's my favorite example of correspondence.
I love that. I love that.
So the next principle, principle 3, is the principle of vibration. So this is a principle stating nothing rests. Everything is in constant movement, consistently vibrating in the world.
This is where science comes in, my brothers and sisters. This is where we get to take a round of applause for them science folk. And if you haven't noticed, I love science. I love science. I love history. And if you are a spiritual person, I think it's your responsibility to dive into these other forms of education. Science, history, very important, and it brings it all together. Anyway, so vibration. You hear that word a lot. Yep. Them vibes, those good vibes, send me those vibes, right? We hear that a lot in our community. So I guess a real life example of feeling vibration, I love using music, okay? Because music, it hits everybody, right? It'll hit you in some way. So when you're feeling the actual sound, when you're feeling the actual lyrics, right? The sound of the voice that is putting that out, the sound of the instrument, when that hits you in your heart space, your soul space, it brings something out of you. Why? Because we are also vibrating, right? It's frequencies meeting each other without any of the fancy science words. Another example is artwork, like how artwork makes you feel. Someone put their vibration into that piece, right? And it's holding it there, and you're able to tap into that by experiencing the piece of art, right? It could be a sculpture, it could be a painting, it could be anything. What's another example? I've got notes here, but
my favorite example of vibration is when you're just at home, you're in a room, and you're just like, all of a sudden you get this urge to just change everything around. and you're like, I need to move my furniture, I need to or reorganize, I need to do this, I need to do that. The reason you're doing that is because you can literally feel that the energy and the vibration of the space has become stagnant. It's just kind of sitting. And so
Yep.
when you move stuff around, it shakes it loose and it causes a different vibration to happen around you. And then after you're done, you're like, oh, I feel so much better. I feel calmer. And it's because you've changed the vibration of the space that you're in. You've moved that energy around.
Feng Shui, baby. They know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
There's even, I forget what it's called. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, looking into Japanese and Chinese practices as far as feng shui, qi, energy, all of that definitely applies. Like, if I urge you to educate yourself on that, because exactly what Karen said, when you move things around, you are shaking things up, right? Even when you just get up and shake, right? This is vibration. This is energy. You're moving it around. In my dance class, there was one dance that we did, and we would go through the chakras. We just shake our hands in front of each chakra, and like, you wouldn't believe how light you feel after. It's insane. Do it. That's my vibration practice for you guys. Just shake. I'll do it. So you start at the root, right? Start at the root and just shake your hands. Move that energy away, and then go up to the sacral, and then up to the solar, and then your heart space, your throat, third eye, crown. It's like spring cleaning for the soul, I swear.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I've got for this one.
Okay, so moving on to the fourth principle, which is the one that Jess already mentioned, the principle of polarity. So everything has poles, every pair has an opposite. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites identical in nature, but different in degree, so where they are. So they're the same here, but they're different as to where they are held. Extremes meeting, all truths are but half truths because everything has its opposite. And just everything is dual.
This is probably one of my favorite principles here. If I can choose a favorite one, this might be one of them. And I'm going to add a layer onto this too, because of the ministry that I teach and everything else. So yes, duality. Our whole reality here is based on duality. The good, the bad, the positive, the negative, the hot, the cold. You get it, right? Dark, the light. All of it's necessary. So that's my mic drop. All of it is, right? All of it is necessary. It's our human perspective that kind of puts the negative in the bad camp, right? That's not the case. Light and shadow, both very good. They're two halves of a whole. The next layer I'm going to add on top of this principle is there's duality, but there is no duality. We are not separate from anything, okay? So that's a huge part of the ministry that I teach personally, and something to keep in mind, that it's all part of the whole. Like, I am not separate from Karen just because we are on opposite ends. We could be on opposite ends of the spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are both parts of the collective, right? Me and my partner, we are not separate. We are two halves of one whole on different levels, right? Mm-hmm. So just keep in mind that polarity is two halves of a whole. Very important. So I guess the real life integration of polarity, simply because we're human, emotions. We are capable of feeling everything, and we are capable of feeling everything on opposite ends of the spectrum. Get this, even at the same time.
Yes.
So that, I think, is probably the heaviest and most obvious example of polarity in our lives. Another one that should be super obvious is physical sensation. So feeling hot water or hot anything, feeling cold water or cold anything. Those are very different experiences, but we're able to experience them both. What's another one?
I think the best example of polarity is right now. We're in a time of fear and worry and stress and all of this stuff, but you can feel that and still feel happy doing something that makes you happy, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all worry all the time, all fear all the time, all happy all the time. And just because you have a moment of happiness because you did something that made you happy doesn't mean that you feel any less worry and fear about what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect example of the polarity and the duality in the universe. It's like, thank you, COVID, for giving us the perfect example. Ooh, I'm really sorry about that.
That's okay. I think with Spirit's going, yeah, hello, you hit it right on the head. Okay, so the last example that I would give is kind of empowering you. You have the ability to choose how you feel, right? So if you're feeling in the negative camp, you have the opportunity to be like, guess what? I choose to be in the positive camp. It doesn't make that negative camp invalid, but you've just chosen to be here. You have that ability to manipulate the polarity, right?
The choice to not remain stuck in any one space.
Or in any principle here. Okay, so what's the next one?
The next principle, numero 5, or cinco, or whatever, however they say it, is the principle of rhythm, which I do not currently have trying to say that. This principle is everything flows in and out, ebbs like the tide, back and forth. Sorry, my neighbor's truck keeps going off, and I don't know what is going on. That's like the 5th time in like the last hour. Rhythm.
We're just going with the flow. We're going with the flow.
The pendulum. Okay, the pendulum is a perfect example. It swings back and forth. However far out it swings to the right, it will swing the exact same way to the left. That is rhythm. It compensates for the swing of things, the flow.
Yeah. So with that, if you're going through it right now, just know that the positivity is going to be coming back your way. You just got to be alert and watch for it and grab onto it as it comes. So with that, the examples that I have, again, going back to recurring themes in your life and patterns that you're seeing with the ebb and flow, okay, being mindful. We are very in tune with the moon. So if you don't already have a moon phase practice, I would definitely marry that with the rhythm of your life. It might help you get into some kind of flow. And it helped me be more aware of the patterns that are going on in my life and when and why, and astrology helps, okay? Another great example is the seasons, okay? So that's a cycle. That is an up and a down. That is a call for rest. That is a call for action. So cycles is something to really relate to this rhythm principle. Just to keep it super simple, okay? Mm-hmm. That's all I got.
And one thing I'm going to check in there is because Jess mentioned the seasons. Be aware we are going to be talking about those. We're going to be talking about the new moon, the full moon. We're going to be talking about all the seasons, all the times of year that we would have big celebrations. And so coming up in June, keep an eye out because June is summer solstice around the 20th or the 21st every year of June. And we are going to be talking to you about that probably about 3 or 4 days before it actually happens so that we can give you guys some information on that, what you can practice, how you can celebrate, all of these different things. So those
we're going to hook you up.
That's right. Those are coming up and they will happen with every celebration or season change that happens. So we will try our best to make them correspond so you guys can have that information before it happens. Okay, principle number 6 is the principle of cause and effect. Everybody must love this one. Every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized.
I love that.
One. So there are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law.
So this one I find marries really well with the previous one, rhythm, cause and effect. Everything's going to have its flow, and it's this is why you can't do time travel properly, because if you change something in the past, it change, watch The Flash, okay? It's a perfect example of this. A quote that I had here was according to law. So this something I needed to add in was, as unpredictable as the universe seems, it does operate in a chaotic order, I'll call it. Okay, so to us as humans, we cannot comprehend the large scale that the universe is working for us on. So it often seems really chaotic, but there is a law put in place naturally, and it's working in our favor. So an example of harnessing that would be like, okay, so according to cosmic law, this can't come in anymore. So you can invoke that just so you're empowered. The examples I have for cause and effect are, so when you're feeling out of control of your life and you get completely blindsided, I can promise you that there's going to be a hindsight moment where you're like, oh, I saw this coming.
Mm-hmm.
Because the warning signs are always available to you. It's whether or not you're tuned into that. And no matter what you do, positive or negative, it's going to have an effect, positive or negative, going forward. That's just something to be mindful of. Another example is when you're looking at a project and it's like too big, right? And then you get overwhelmed. That's a negative cause and effect. So if you were to look at that project and be like, how can I break it down and approach it differently, you'll have a different outcome, right? It's all about perspective and being tuned in and being aware. So wake up.
I laughed because you said about the project and breaking it down. I said, you go find yourself a Capricorn because they're going to really...
or a Virgo.
Or a Virgo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you need help organizing a project and breaking it down, find a Virgo or a Capricorn. You'll be good.
A Taurus is usually too lazy. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm a Taurus rising, so that's why I can put the job in.
There you go. All right, guys. So the final principle that we're going to talk about today is the principle of gender. So gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles, and gender manifests on all planes.
Yeah, so I said polarity was probably my favorite, but this one is like my favorite. Okay, because this is talking about the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Now, I use the word divine because it's beyond our human sex and gender. Okay, as a woman, I have both masculine and female energies within me. Same for any man that comes walks on by, right? Any dog, any cat, any rock, I feel like I'm about to sing Colors of the Wind. Anyway.
Tigers and bears, I'm on.
Right? Or that, right? So to give you an idea of what masculine versus feminine energies are, I've got a helpful list for you. So when we speak about masculine energy, we're not necessarily speaking about the physical masculine body parts or anything. We're talking about projectivity, activity, giving, as opposed to receiving, which is on the feminine end, which is kind of ass backwards in today's society. But anyways, that's a whole other topic. Anyway, where masculinity is expansive. It's outward energy. Okay, think Mars or Aries energy. Okay,
A lot of
where
logic and analysis.
exactly that right-brained, right? Is it
Yep.
right brain
I
or
think,
like
no,
yes?
left brain.
left brain, left
Left
brain,
brain is analytical.
right? So feminine energy is receptive, passive rather than active or aggressive. Um, Contractive, so it's more in like coming inward instead of expanding outward. It's intuitive, so it's feeling things and trusting that. And inward, like I mentioned before. This isn't a feminine body; it's a feminine energy. So women, I'm going to use women as an example because we're supposed to be these soft creatures, right? But no, we've got masculine energy too. So a woman is allowed to feel rage. A woman is allowed to be aggressive and active in her community. Like that is okay. That is necessary, just like the polarities, right? So that's all I got to do. I could be here talking about the divine masculine and feminine all day, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing people have to remember, I think, is that because of these Hermetic principles and because of those polarities and everything, we all have every aspect of everything within us. It's
Yes.
not, it's not, oh, I have to be all feminine all the time. I have to be all masculine all the time. No, we all have both aspects within us, but we've been taught by society to, if you are in a male's body, you can only have masculine energy. If you're in a female's body, you can only have feminine energy. And that is so wrong. That is why a lot of times, and I mean, this does not go for everybody. This is just an opinion of mine. Please don't yell at me because I won't care. This is why a lot of times when people go searching for that other half of them, they never exactly find what they're looking for because you're not supposed to go look as a female, you're not supposed to go look for that masculine energy to bring it into your life with somebody else. You have it within you. You have to be okay with it and accept both sides of yourself. Then
Amen,
you
sister.
might have better luck, finding somebody else.
Yeah,
But,
it's so true.
mhm.
There are instances where people come into our lives to show us a different part of ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because like what you mentioned earlier, that person that's outside of you is just showing you a reflection of what you've got going on within. As above,
Yep.
so below. As within, so without. Bruh.
Yep.
Right?
They
So
all circle back into one another, like you said
they
earlier,
do.
because like even that, like you were talking about people coming into your life. Not everybody comes into your life for a lifetime. Some people come in, they flow in, they ebb in, and then flow out once you've learned the lesson that they're trying to teach you. And
Yep.
sometimes that lesson is speak up for yourself more. Don't be such a pushover. Bring that masculine energy out a little bit more. Or maybe for a guy, it can be a feminine influence, getting him more in touch with his emotions and knowing and allowing him to understand that it's okay to have those emotions. It doesn't
That
make you weak or anything like that, right?
yes.
So
That
it's
drives me absolutely insane when we're talking about masculine and feminine and people take that as male female. It's totally different. Masculine energy is within everyone, feminine energy is within everyone. So if a man wants to cry, please sir, let it out.
cry, yep.
If a man wants
Exactly.
to sing and dance, please sir, let it out. Right? If a woman wants to scream at the top of her lungs because she's so mad, go
Mm-hmm.
for it, girlfriend. Go for it. Let that rage out, right? If we hold all that in, it's no matter what your physical gender is, if we hold that in, it's gonna make you feel icky.
Yep, because it's going to ball up and then it's going to explode, and then you're going to have physical symptoms that are caused by spiritual imbalance.
Yeah, exactly. So, like you said, these all marry together. They all overlap. They all pull from one another. They all work together. These hermetic principles, and we just gave a very like skimming the surface kind of
Yes.
overview. So please look into them yourself, and integrate them into your practice and what they mean for you. But do you want to just run through them again quickly so we kind of give a list of what we're looking for?
Yeah, so first principle is the principle of mentalism. So all is mind, and the universe is mental. The second principle is the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. Right? Next principle is the principle of vibration. Everything moves in this world. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has its opposites, but
Two
yet
halves
they
of
are
one.
together. Two halves of one whole, exactly. Next principle is the principle of rhythm. Everything has its tides, it ebbs and flows, it comes and goes. Principle of cause and effect. Every cause has an effect, every effect has a cause. Whether you see them right away and marry them right away, that's a different story. And the final one is the principle of gender, masculine energy and feminine energy. We all have both of them, and we need to be okay with having both of them in our lives.
Oh,
Beautiful. I love them
beautiful.
so much.
I loved my interpretive dance throughout.
That was awesome. That's your rhythm, your own rhythm.
Trying to be. Oh, this was awesome. I'm so glad we
Yeah,
covered this. So now I feel like we've laid a good foundation so we can go on to like spiritual hygiene, I think is next, right?
I do
So,
believe yes.
yeah. So that'll be our
So,
next episode.
with that, join us again next week when we come back with more elemental essentials and we talk about spiritual hygiene. Can't wait to see you there, guys. Bye.
Bye.